Hello fellow astrologers, welcome back to the Astrology Keyring Fundamental Series. In this video, we're going to be talking about the moon, the inner self. This is D3. We'll talk about how the moon works in astrology. We'll discuss all the interactive links that we have. We'll go over the chart details. Then we'll come over here and talk about how it interacts on the keyring. Then when we're done, we'll come back and read the keywords. So let's go back and read this paragraph. The moon is the third luminary and the ruler of your emotions, habits, and subconscious. Where the sun shines outward, the moon reflects inward, governing your feelings, instincts, memories, and how you emotionally process life. It shows how you nurture and want to be nurtured, how you react when vulnerable, and what makes you feel safe and at home. The moon is related to maternal energies and life experiences, especially those tied to security and care. Because it moves quickly, changing signs every 2 to 2.5 days, it adds a subtle emotional nuance and mood shift to daily life. Its position in your chart reveals your emotional language and inner needs. So yes, as the final luminary, the moon itself is the id, or the subconscious. It's the deepest part of oneself. And usually, when somebody is willing to show you their moon, that means they're most comfortable with opening up and being honest with you. It's an interesting way to see how people are being honest or forthcoming with you. Sometimes they're being guarded because they're having to defend themselves and have to show their ascendant. But as they loosen up, you'll start to see more of their sun. And that means they're starting to get more comfortable. And once they finally get that final level, they'll show you their moon. And that's where you see that side. Now, all three of these characteristics will bleed together in the personality. And that's why when people say, well, hey, I'm not like a Taurus sun. I have these traits and that trait. Or I'm not like a Gemini sun. I'm more reserved and I do these things. It could be because your ascendant or your moon may be something totally different, and having that power over the situation, as people start to know you better, they start to see those other traits. Or if they don't know you so well, you might show you some traits that aren't necessarily your sun. And this is one of the biggest steps of stepping outside of horoscopes and really understanding what astrology is. So like all of our page, we have a series of interactive links. If you see here, there'll be topics that we're going over, and over here next to them is the actual letter and number. If you click on the topic itself, it'll take you to a Google search, which tells you about that actual topic and a number of pages you can look to that give you information on that. And if you click on the letter and number, it takes you to the video where we do this right here and talk about the topic from the actual reading of the book. So now let's look at these chart details. The moon is, yes, it's the third luminary. It symbolizes emotions, habits, subconscious, and nurturing. The ruling sign is Cancer, and the corresponding house is the 4th house. And the other dignities for the moon, the exalted position, the exalted sign for the moon is Taurus. The detriment sign for the moon is Capricorn, and the fall sign is Scorpio. Now, when we talked about it earlier, these are the ruler and the exalted are typically favorable signs, and people with with the moon in these two signs tend to have more favorable experiences. The people with these two signs tend to have some difficulties. Cancers are quite feeling, and Tauruses are quite reserved. So the two of those make for a more positive moon sign. And then Capricorn is very insensitive, and Scorpio can be cold-blooded. So the two of those can be difficult for the actual moon sign. So that's why you have the detriment and fall versus the ruler and the exaltation. Doesn't mean that it's terrible. You could be a Capricorn moon and do great things, or a Scorpio moon. Matter of fact, most of the men on American Cash Money have Capricorn moons. So Doesn't mean you can't achieve and overcome things. It just means that it's more of a trying position to have. So let's look at it over here on the key ring. If you look right here, the moon is a ruler of the 4th house in Cancer. You can see it's a cardinal water sign. Now, when you actually see your chart, your moon might not be in this house. That's just the traditional ruler. If it is in that house, then usually it means a more favorable situation for it. But one thing you have to remember, if you have too many things too favorable, sometimes you can take it for granted and not appreciate it, and you can miss out on those opportunities because you just let them go. So, sometimes a little adversity is good. Also down here on the 4th line, it shows all the connections right here. Cardinal signs, water, it is the moon, Cancer, and the home in the 4th house. The house of the home. The moon is very nurturing and shares a lot of qualities with the 4th house and Cancer. Let's take a look at what these keywords have to say. So, we always like using a balance. We like giving the general keywords plus some positive ones and some negative traits, so you have a good balanced idea of what they are, how they work, and you may see some that are similar because there may be some planets, other planets or signs or elements that share some similarities with it, since it has like Cancer house. Some of those keywords may become reoccurring. So let's talk about those. General, emotional, instinct, safety, inner world, id, cycles, memory. Positive traits: intuitive, nurturing, receptive, protective, sentimental, and deeply caring. Negative traits: moody, oversensitive, reactive, withdrawn, over-attached, prone to anxiety. These are some great words. Gives you a real good idea of what the moon is. So depending on what sign the moon might be in, may dictate how some of these come to bear. Prone to anxiety could show in different ways. If you're Sagittarius moon, you may actually be pacing and have your leg actually twitching all the time because you want to be active. But if you're a Virgo moon, you may be worrying constantly all the time. It just really depends on how it's flavored. So that pretty much sums up how the moon works in the zodiac. Stay tuned for the next episode where we talk about Mercury, the first inner planet, in D4. We hope you have enjoyed this video from our Astrology Keyring series. If you like the content, please like, follow, and share with your friends. Thank you for watching and have a blessed journey.